Hello, everybody. This is not Apple Brian. This is the Apple Brian Classics Baseball Channel. Picks the Post, Tuesday night NFL picks. And Apple Brian has left the building. I think he's somewhere in a pet shop looking for a hamster that can pick better than he does. 6 out of 16. A drug hamster could do better than that. Hi, Dan. This is Dan Mattingly, Apple Brian's son-in-law. He had a better week. Dan, you were 9-7.
Yeah. Missed on some big ones though. There were a lot of close games this week. Lot of balls didn't bounce my way too. I feel your pain.
At one point, I lost 7 games in a row, and all those games were like 3-point games. I mean, they could have gone either way. In fact, there were only about 2 blowouts last week. That was the Kansas City Tampa game and the San Francisco Rams game. Rest of the games basically went down to the wire.
Yeah, close games all.
And that's what we said last week. The word was parity. This week, the word for the day is, or words for the day is, all day long. I was watching the London game, Minnesota and New Orleans, and I noticed nobody was on the ground between the 20-yard lines. There was just not much physicality. Once you got in the red zone, some people were picking themselves up off the floor, and the physicality definitely picked up. Same thing within the 20-yard line. But I don't like teams that play that way. These are kind of the bend but don't break. Because if you stay physical the entire game, some team might give up. Or they might get worn out, like the Chiefs and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay gave up their running game like early.
Immediately.
Yeah, six rushes for 3 yards. So that's if you play with physicality all through the field, between the 20s, everywhere, things like that can happen for you. Otherwise, you don't. If you give up in the middle of the field and just become pushing and shoving, you don't have that possibility. All right, let's get to the picks. First one up is Indianapolis Colts at the Denver Broncos.
Are there 2 more disappointing teams in the league?
Probably not.
I don't think so. I didn't think that Denver – I thought that Denver would be the worst team in the AFC West, but I didn't expect to see this. Literally, Geno Smith is – I read a crazy stat that said that if Geno Smith threw the next 34 passes that he attempts into the dirt, he will still have a better completion percentage than Russell Wilson. That's incredible to me. Russell Wilson's not bringing it for this team. And Melvin Gordon had to spell Javonte Williams when Javonte had a bit of a knee injury this past weekend and made some key mistakes for them. They are not a good team on offense. They're okay on defense, but they're not on the level of like a 49ers or even, I would say, the Packers. Or Tampa, for that matter. The Colts are anemic. They can't get Jonathan Taylor going. He should be the key to their offense, but there's nothing imaginative coming from the offensive play calling. Matt Ryan really does not look to trust his weapons downfield. He's really not pushing the ball at all, which may be because his arm is just kind of tired at this point in his career. And that Colts defense has really let them down. They were supposed to be much better this year, but they're missing a few guys that they let go in the offseason. So I will pick the Broncos because I think there is a ghost of a chance that they will show up at home.
You're right. The
Colts aren't going to show up.
They're two disappointing teams. I thought that the Broncos front would destroy the Vegas Raiders, both lines, and that did not happen. Not at all, especially the defensive line was a real big disappointment, allowing the Raiders to run all over them. Russell Wilson is looking like he's toward the end of his career. I think he did have a little bit better day, but generally speaking, he is not what he used to be. Looking at Indianapolis, they still have some injuries. Shaquille Leonard was out for the Chiefs game, and then the next week he got back for a little bit. Then he had a concussion, so he's under concussion protocol, and not sure he's going to be able to play in Week 5. Jonathan Taylor's got an ankle injury, and he's not sure he's going to play. And basically, nobody else has carried the ball for them this year. They've got, from running backs, 8 other yards. I think they have picked up Philip Lindsay, who used to be with the Broncos.
Tough running.
Yeah, and should be motivated if Taylor can't go. But with the best running back going, Jonathan Taylor, they're still 32nd in points scored in the NFL. And Ryan is 56%, 5 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, and a whole bunch of fumbles. And not much going on in the defense either. Kwity Paye has 3 sacks, but basically nobody else is doing anything. So Indianapolis has been disappointing. But with that being said, Denver is for sure going to be missing Devontae Williams. He's out for the season. And, you heard if Gordon's going to play? He's injured also.
He's questionable. We won't know till later in the week. So, yeah, they may be scrambling running back too.
Yeah, both teams might be. When he was in there, though, he gave up a 60-yard fumble return. And we were talking about his fumbling the ball, and it happened big time last week.
Been a problem his whole career.
Russell Wilson, add to what we said about Russell Wilson, he's got some kind of a shoulder injury as well. There's some issues there, and he was limited at practice. Gregory, who they got from the Cowboys, was carted off the field to the locker room, and he's questionable for next week. If Denver's going to win this game, they're going to have to win it without Williams and Gordon, and they're going to have to count on Russell Wilson to win this game in the air. And I don't see that happening, so I'm picking Indianapolis. Next game is another London game. That's the New York Jets and the Green Bay Packers. Or New York Giants, I'm sorry. That last week.
Yeah, you're fine. The London games are always weird. You never know who's really going to show up. It's early in the day, so it worked out for Kirk Cousins. As long as he's not playing under bright lights, he seems to look okay. I really like this Giants team. They're 3-1. They've had some good wins. They pretty much counted on Daniel Jones running sweeps for their offense this past week. I don't know if you can do that against the Green Bay Packers. That's kind of a tough ask for any quarterback, especially one who tends to fumble the ball quite a bit. So I really do think that the Packers, with Lazard back, with Cobb making plays, the offense starting to get in rhythm, they should be able to put up some points on a pretty good Giants defense. And I love the Packers ground game. Aaron Jones and Dillon are really going. And as I said, that defense is up there with anybody. They're playing very well at this stage of the season. I will take the Packers.
Okay, I'm taking the Packers as well. So not good news for the Giants. They do have a top 10 pass defense, the Giants do, but they need to find an edge rusher. They need to find somebody who can put some pressure on Aaron Rodgers, or he's going to pick them apart. Kenny Galloway is likely out with a knee problem.
He doesn't catch the ball anyway.
Yeah, Jones is probably going to play, but he's got some issues. The only thing they got going for him on offense is Saquon Barkley, and boy, he's having a huge year.
Yeah.
They even put him at Wildcat for a whole series, and that went well. They moved the ball right down the field.
That was wild.
There's only one defensive lineman, though, that's got a sack, and that's Dexter Lawrence. And again, that's not going to cut it. They rely too much on blitzes, and that will work in Aaron Jones' favor. More and more, Romeo Doubs is becoming the number one guy for the Packers as far as receiving. I think the only thing going wrong with Green Bay is their tackling has been an issue. They're 20th 7th in the league in yards after contact. So they've not been tackling very good. But that's something you can work on and improve. I talked about Caleb Jones, who's called up off their practice squad, I think a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, when they had tackles going down. Bakhtiari wasn't back yet. Jenkins went down, so they called up Caleb Jones, 6'9", 340. I was looking forward to seeing him play, but he got sick.
Ah.
So I couldn't. Do you think Green Bay will go after Odell Beckham Jr.?
I think that they can take a look. They've got the roster flexibility to do it. He's looking to win titles, and Green Bay's not a bad look for that. I don't know if he'll want to go to Wisconsin after spending so much time in LA. But he needs a team, and they could use another weapon. I don't think it would hurt. He showed to be a pretty good pro last season.
Yeah, he had a good year. I think it would help Green Bay's Super Bowl chances if they did it. Mm-hmm. Next game up is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who've got one foot in the grave, and Buffalo Bills.
The Bills were lucky to win last week. They really were. The Ravens just completely cratered, and it was terrible to watch. You think of John Harbaugh as one of the best coaches in the league, and then he puts up that Dolphins game and that past Bills game where he's just playing it so safe. I'll get to that later, though. The Bills are they're still pretty banged up. They're dealing with injuries at every position group imaginable. They are a team that needs to get a little bit healthy. They can afford to rest some of their better players against this Steelers team because they've proven that they're pretty willing to throw the Bills the ball. 3 picks in our boy Kenny Pickett's first game. I will say a couple of them went off receivers' hands.
There's
2 of them, I know. And then the Hail Mary that just wasn't going to happen. Pickett had a couple good drives, but and will move the ball better than Trubisky in my mind. But going up against a Bills defense that will make life very difficult for a rookie quarterback, I have to take the Bills here.
Got you down for the Bills. I'm also taking Buffalo. Pittsburgh, basically, since they lost T.J. Watt, their defense is really challenged. They've only had 3 sacks as a team since he was gone. They can't pressure the quarterback. They still have Mika Fitzgerald, but they got to get some pressure up front. The offensive line will probably keep Kenny Pickett on the run like they did Trubisky. But I'm with you. I think Pickett will move the ball. I think he's pretty good. Steelers have one foot in the grave. They're looking at Buffalo this week. They got Tampa Bay next week. They got the Dolphins after that and the Eagles after that.
Yep. It's a tough stretch.
And then they have they got an Easter game after that, and then they got Cincinnati Bengals too. So they're looking at 5 losses in a hurry.
Yeah.
Which would put them at possibly 1-8. 1-9 if they don't get that in between game.
Right.
And their season will be basically over. I like that coach, but sometimes it's the players that makes the coach. Milano, I thought last week for Buffalo, he had another all-pro performance. That guy is an outstanding linebacker.
He is.
This is the first game Buffalo has won by a 1-score game in 2 years. Boy, did they make sure that they were going to win that close game at the end after the penalty on that final drive. They could have let the guy score a touchdown on that long play and tackled him at the 3-yard line. And I think that was Calais Campbell that was throwing his arms up. I don't know if he was upset that they made a big play or he's upset that they didn't let him score.
Right.
Because
time to go down.
It was probably the latter because they still had a minute and 45 seconds and a good chance to go back and still win the game.
Sure.
Crowder is still out. He's going to be out a long time. Wide receiver. He's got a broken ankle. And Isaiah McKenzie, the running back, is still in concussion protocol. But Singletary was running the ball a little more. They need to get more of that going to take more pressure off the quarterback. If he gets hurt, there's going to be big problems in Buffalo. I'm picking Buffalo, though. All right, next game is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Cleveland Browns.
Well, Browns didn't play as well as I expected them to last week, but they're rolling along. They're probably about a league average team. Brissett's coming back to earth just a bit, but they still have their running back tandem with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I saw, though, that the Chargers may have figured something out on offense. They really got a great game out of Austin Eckler. Really moved the ball well. They seem to be getting healthier. Herbert was moving a little bit better for sure. And I just think that the Chargers have too good of a defense and too many weapons on offense for the Browns.
Yep, I'm with you on this game as well. You would have thought Justin Herbert got hurt, but the way he's been playing.
No.
Yeah.
Last week when he had 10 points.
Actually, maybe it's healing up fast already. I don't know.
Must be.
Bosa's still on IR, so he won't be back. But Hebert's got 12,050 yards already, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Keenan Allen has returned to practice. But as soon as he returned, he re-aggravated the hamstring. So
he's getting old.
Yeah, it could be. So he may or may not be back, but Hebert's been getting along fine without him.
Yeah,
they've got a good set of receivers, and like you said, Eckler 3 touchdowns last week, over 100 total yards. He raised his rushing average from about 2.8 to up over 4.
Right.
I have a friend on Rob's channel, Cleveland fan. Tim is from Cleveland, and he refers to the Cleveland Browns as the Cleveland Clowns. He is very frustrated with his hometown team. They were missing 3 starters on the defensive line last week against Atlanta. Myles Garrett's coming back from that automobile accident. I think Garrett will be playing this week, but it might not be 100%. Jacoby Brissett has been fine. He's at 65%, 4 touchdowns. But he's facing a very good secondary this week. So there might be some cracks in the Brissett game coming up. Real strong rushing attack. But if you can not stop the other team from running the ball, that kind of negates it. They're giving up 4.7 yards per rush. So I am with the Los Angeles Chargers going into Cleveland and getting a victory. All right, the next game is the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I expect Jacksonville to have a bounce-back game. They were up against a tough opponent last week. Texans, surprisingly plucky. They stay in games. They manage to get the ball down the field. They drive it. They settle for a few too many field goals. And Mills seems to have something weird happen toward the end of the game every week where he turns the ball over, which is all kind of to be expected. The Texans we're supposed to have a down year. They don't have an especially talented roster, but Jacksonville sure does. They've got another good running back tandem with Etienne and Robinson. I think Lawrence is getting more and more comfortable in what I would probably say is his real first year in the league, now that he has a grown-up with Peterson as his head coach. So I think Jacksonville wins this one pretty easy.
Yeah, last week I was trying to pick the big upset, Jacksonville over Philadelphia, and it got off to a great start, 14-0. I didn't count on the rain, though. And
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence from that point forward pummeling the ball 4 times and throwing an interception, and receivers were dropping balls.
Mhm.
So in the future, I'm still high on Jacksonville, but not in the rain.
No, apparently they
I think
shrivel up when they get wet. It's
when
terrible.
and also I may not be too high on Jacksonville when they're playing a NFC team. They're 0-18 against the NFC in their
Hmm,
last 18 games.
that's a good stat.
But fortunately, Houston's in the AFC, and I think Jacksonville will win this game by a couple of touchdowns pretty easily. Somehow I got out of order on my notes, but we got Chicago Bears coming up with the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, the Bears they're a football team. I'll give them that. They're not a very good one. We'll see what Justin Fields can do.
I think they were early season mirage, having such a good preseason and then winning the first couple of games.
Yeah.
But that monsoon game, that's quite the neutralizer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it was nice to see them do so well early, but things have kind of regressed kind of to my expectations for that team. I expect the Vikings, and when I expect the Vikings to do anything, they typically do the opposite. Um, I think they can get Cook and Jefferson and Thielen going and score more points than the Bears are going to be able to. The Bears are going to be lucky in any game against any NFL team to score more than 17 points. And I believe that this Vikings team is talented enough that they should put up, 26 to 30 points a week. So I just think that baseline wise, the Vikings are just better defense, better offense.
Fields has been a disappointment so far, and now Olavi with the Saints, he's coming on. He's doing fine, and a little disappointed J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State. We'll talk about that later. But Fields just hasn't done well. 51%, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and only 471 yards in 4 games from your quarterback. That is not going to cut it. Minnesota, on the other hand, they've got Zadarius Smith limited in practice. He's a question mark. Cousins is having a so-so year. He's not having his best year. Maybe he counted that London game like a under the lights type of game where he generally doesn't perform. So I'm looking for him to bounce back and take it to the Bears. Minnesota's secondary is allowing way too much separation. I don't know if you've noticed that, but Saints receivers were open by 3 yards or more, quite a lot. So they've got some work to do to fix that. But still, I'm picking Minnesota. Next game is Detroit at New England. New England's going to be wearing their throwback uniforms, which I love.
Oh yeah, it'll be a fun one. Well, Zappy was kind of fun to watch. A lot of movement, I'll say that for him. Made some plays, made some mistakes. First game. And I imagine they're gonna go with him. I haven't heard otherwise. New England's defense is it's okay. The weapons are tough. I would feel for any rookie quarterback with the lack of receiving that New England puts out there. They do have Harris and Stevenson at running back, and they do great. So, I know that the Patriots are probably a little shaky. I'm going to go with the Lions in this game, but the Lions defense is so bad. They're ready to give up 40 points to anybody. They really are. That defensive backfield needs a huge upgrade in a lot of positions. And they're not getting to the quarterback as regularly as they were early in the season. So, I think that this might be a fairly close game, but I think the Lions have enough offense to beat the New England Patriots?
I'm kind of counting on New England, even though Mac Jones probably won't be there. This Bailey Zappi is from Western Kentucky, and he passed for almost 6,000 yards last year, 69%, 62 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and 5,967 yards in one season.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Western Kentucky's an offensive powerhouse in their league. They're fun to watch.
Yeah. Apparently, he can zing the ball all over the field, which is not Belichick's personality. But I think the quarterback situation is not in bad shape. The Lions leading in points scored, but as you said, their defense is leading in points allowed. Defense is just awful. Hutchinson's got 3 sacks, but he's the only defensive player they've got.
And he got those 3 sacks in the second game of the season.
Yeah.
He got them all in one game.
Yeah. Defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn might be coaching for his job this week because, I don't know how long Campbell and the Lions are going to go with this situation. They're going to have to shake it up, do something, because that offense is spectacular.
It is.
But
they're wasting it.
They're averaging over 40 points a game, but you can't expect them to go through the whole season scoring 40 points a game. People are going to get hurt. It's already happening.
Swift can't step up the injury report.
Yeah. St. Brown's more than likely to play. He's battling that ankle. Swift, have you heard about him?
With him, I hadn't seen. They had him as questionable last I looked, but he is kind of a key to their offense. T.J. Hawkinson, I mean.
Oh yeah, he stepped it up.
He played great, didn't he?
Yeah. The thing of it is, if Detroit gets up on New England early by a couple touchdowns, I would think it's all over because
they have to run. The Patriots really need to run the ball to do well.
They don't have any big play possibilities. They've only got a few plays over 40 yards, and then the longest run is 18 yards from scrimmage. So it's not like they'll break for a long touchdown run. So if New England gets behind early, it's going to be trouble for them. Next game is Seattle at New Orleans.
This is one of those games that I just always get wrong, Brian.
Brian's not here, remember.
Oh, right. Yes.
I guess some guy they asked to come in here, Brian, is looking at his runs from only having 6 out of 16 correct picks last week. You could call me the Unabomber or anything you want to, but Apple Brian has left it.
We'll roll with Unabomber. Swift is likely out from what I just saw, but they do expect St. Brown, as you said, to go. Well, I'm going to take the team that's played better this season. Seattle, while they do have their ups and downs in a questionable secondary, as far as their defensive backfield, I do think that what they're putting up on offense and the things that their linebackers and defensive linemen are able to do will negate the Saints' chances with either Andy Dalton, Taysom Hill, or Jameis Winston. I don't care which of that 3-headed monster they throw at me. I'm not too worried. So I'm going to have to go with the Seahawks in this. I just haven't seen enough from the Saints this season.
Big worry I have with Seattle Seahawks, of course, is their defense. They're transitioning to a 3-4 defense. And right now, only the Lions are worse than they are. They're 31st in the NFL. Nwasu is the only guy that's really helping on defense. They've only got 1 sack in the season from a defensive line, so they're not getting any pressure on the quarterback. And that will play in Andy Dalton's favor, which Andy Dalton, actually played okay.
Yeah.
This is also Seattle's second straight long road trip. London, and now they're going to New Orleans. That's a whole bunch of time zones in 2 weeks. So I think that's definitely working against them. Working against New Orleans, not Seattle. I'm sorry. Well, New Orleans is home.
Yeah.
Seattle went to Detroit last week, but still, that's 4 time zones in 2 weeks. That's like they went to Detroit. Now they're going to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Got it straight now. I still like you, Seattle's defense. Secondary is not much, and they already talked about their front not getting anything done. So, and on the other hand, New Orleans, their defensive front looked pretty good against the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
They got in there. Davenport got a couple sacks. I think they're playing well there. Ingram should have a field day running against that 3-4 front. I'm not expecting Kamara to be back with the rib problems, but even if I don't think he'll be back. Winston's got the back problems. Hard thing about picking on Tuesday is you just don't know about some of these injuries.
Yeah.
But again, if he's not back, Andy Dalton did all right last week. And the thing they found is Olave from Ohio State. He's really playing pretty well, and I think he's going to be just getting better, week in, week out.
Sure. When I've watched them, Winston was just missing him a lot. He was getting open, and Winston hit him down the field.
Not very coverable, and 335 yards on 21 catches. He's definitely an option for the Saints. I'm going with New Orleans. Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets.
Oh, boy. Well, this is going to be a weird game, I have a feeling. I think I'm going to go with the Dolphins, even with the injuries. I do think that they're a better coached team in some ways. I know that Saleh is a great defensive mind, and he really gets to his players. Zach Wilson had a pretty good week back, but he did it against a team that just is – that Steelers team is just a walking corpse. They're not very good. I think the Dolphins will look to put on a show here and kind of let everybody see that they can put up some points on a Jets team that they believe that they're better than.
Got you down for Miami. Miami still doesn't have a running game. Most are at 3.3 yards per carry. But boy, like you said, they ought to have a field day. The corners for the Jets are good. DJ Reed and Charles Gardner are locking it down on the corners, but the 2 safeties are awful. And I think Reed and Waddle were kind of quiet last week. I don't think they're going to be quiet this week. I think there's going to be bombs away down the field every opportunity Miami gets to take advantage of those safeties. The kicking and punting games are strong. I think Miami is just way better than the Jets. Wilson's debut didn't go very well either. 50%, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. That wasn't great. Now I got something to say about Tua's injury. They say that it's too early to set a timetable. I have a suggestion for a timetable. Next season.
Yeah,
he's had 2 concussions. One of them a major concussion. Now the investigators talked with they interviewed Tua, I think today or maybe yesterday. We'll see what comes of that. But you got to think of his career, and you can't pile up concussions one after another, especially when there's been a major one. And there's for sure been two. Everybody knows they fired the doctor, but I'm kind of getting put. I used to like Mike Daniels, their coach. I thought he was a great character, but I'm not impressed with the character now. It's all CYA, and his words are ringing hollow to me. There's something else about this too. I for years have wondered. I know a lot of guys in the NFL don't wear knee braces because they feel like they're at a competitive imbalance. But why doesn't the league step in and just make everybody wear knee braces?
I don't know. I really don't.
Most colleges, you see their offensive linemen are all in heavy knee braces. My teams in California, we put them in the linemen in Don Joy, we put them in the Anderson brace, which was a lighter brace for the running backs. And they were not at a competitive imbalance. We won league championships every year. We won one state championship, lost another state championship game, won 25 games in a row on knee braces. And our players said they felt naked without the knee braces. Just, about 2 weeks after we put them on, we asked them, what do you think? We made it mandatory for every player to wear a knee brace. On the varsity, the JV, it was up to them, but if they wanted to, we would provide the knee brace for them. I have sat in the emergency rooms with players that have had torn up knees as an athletic director, talking to their parents, players with broken collarbones, players with concussions. But I'm not having any guilt feelings. We did our best to protect our players. After our first broken collarbone, we put all the sophomores in a peanut shell under the shoulder pads, and we didn't have any more broken collarbones. And after we put them in knee braces, we did for 8 years. We did not have one knee injury. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
Now they're bigger and faster. You might still get a knee injury in the NFL with braces. And actually, I think I might have seen it once or twice, but it's very, very rare. It's not like every week somebody on every team has a knee problem.
Yeah.
So when the NFL says they're protecting their players, they're not. They're really not. All right, I'll get down off my soapbox and go to the next game. We're both on Miami. Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Bucks.
This might be a closer game than folks think. I really do think that Tampa's starting to sharpen the swords a little on offense. They did have Godwin back. He was limited, you could tell. Evans is just such a tough receiver. That guy is a physical freak.
He is so underrated. He is a star, but he is an underrated star.
Yeah, they don't talk about him with the.
He was making unbelievable catches, and was covered.
Yeah, good coverage. He does it regularly. He's done it for years and years. He gets 1,000 yards every year. He's Mr. Consistency for them. The defense for Tampa, they really had a tough game that they're going to want some serious revenge for. I would not want to be a player on the Atlanta Falcons offense next week with David and crew coming at me. We'll see if that's the case. The Falcons are a pretty talented team. They're able to move the ball. Cordell Patterson is a force to be reckoned with at the running back position. He's having one of the best years of anybody. Been very consistent there. Kyle Pitts has been a disappointment again. I just don't understand why they can't get this guy the ball. It's wild to me.
I think Cordell Patterson went to the IR.
Oh, did he now? Oh, he wasn't on my list. Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but you look that up. I think he's on the IR. But the backup guy, Al Groyer, he got 139 yards and 5.3 average, so he's not a bad option.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Pat Patterson's on
Oh
IR.
yeah, he's on IR. Okay, that's going to make it very, very difficult on the Falcons. I know that they probably have a very good backup, but that guy's a dynamic player. I love Drake London. I think he's a very good player for him. But I think they're not quite ready for the elite level that Tampa's looking to round into, and I do think Tampa's got this game.
I am with you. I'm with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I like Atlanta's coach, and they played all their games tough. They're within one score in every game. They're 2-2. And I think they'll still be able to run the ball. I don't know why Cordell Patterson didn't start out as a running back.
Yeah,
He's built like a running back.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's on IR. Tampa Bay, Vita Vea got dominated by Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen that before. Tampa Bay is known for stuffing the run. But my goodness, they got decimated by those two guys. And Joe Tooney had a big game. Our tackles, they're not playing as well as I thought they'd play.
Yeah, Brown struggled with Barrett. He really did.
I'm not sure he's
right.
Completely healthy.
Yeah.
But they're getting the wide receivers back as Tampa, unless Godwin got beat up too much last night. He took a beating in that game against the Chiefs. But I think he'll be back. They're going to have to find a running game. And against Atlanta, let's see, I didn't write down what they do against the rush defense, but I do think they give up some yards rushing, so they should get it going. They can't have Brady drop back and pass every play. The guy's 45 years old. He's still got an arm. He still has all of his talents. He's playing just as well as he has ever played through his career. But they've got to get some kind of a running game going. We're both on Tampa. Next game is Tennessee Titans at the Washington Commanders.
Well, that's a game. Should be great. Both teams are pretty questionable.
They're both in the race at the bottom.
Right, yeah. That's
well, Tennessee's 2-2, but they're not playing well.
No, they're not playing great. And Washington just doesn't have it on defense. They can do a few things on offense, but it's too easy when you have so few weapons to scare another team to do well. Gibson is just really scraping the barrel this season. He really needs to have better production for the Commanders to do well. McLaurin's doing fine. He's putting up pretty good games for him. But the defense is willing to give up as many points as the other team is willing to take, it seems like. Tennessee beat a bad Colts team last week, and I expect them to beat a pretty bad Commander team this week.
Yeah, Washington has given up 12 plays of 30-plus yards. There is a lot of blown coverages in the secondary, probably more than any other team. They give up penalties. Jalen Dotson's out with a hamstring. So they haven't got their full complement, but neither does Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be probably missing Treylon Burks, the receiver, who would love to be out there to take care of those blown coverages, but he's got turf toe. So I'm not sure he's going to be playing. Derrick Henry is kind of starting to get it going. He had 99 yards in the first half last week. And now overall he's got 306, and he's got his average up to 4.0. But again, this is another team that's giving up 4.8 yards rushing. They should not give up 4.8 yards rushing to Washington. This is a get-right game in that rush defense against Washington. I'm with you. I'm also picking Tennessee. Next game is the San Francisco 49ers at the Carolina Panthers. This was the only pick that I could feel good about last week, picking San Francisco over LA.
Over LA, that's right. Man, that was a brutal beating that the Niners defense gave the Rams. They just out physicaled them in every way. And Debo Samuel looked like himself again.
Yeah, huge play. And the 49ers linebackers are probably as good as Tampa Bay's linebackers.
Yeah, Warner's fantastic.
Yeah, they really cover a lot of ground.
They do. They do. They're weapons in the pass defense for sure. He's the pretty good all levels of the defense there. I really saw Bosa had one of the better games I saw from a defensive lineman outside of that first game from TJ Watt this season. He was a force. Carolina is trending toward bad. They had a flash a couple weeks ago that had me believe. They fooled me again, Brian. This team
fooled me too
every year. They get me once or twice. And
they got a college coach, and I think that staff he's got is not great either.
No,
I think Matt Rule's in over his head, basically.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I do think that Baker is just proving to be too inconsistent. He's missing throws left and right. I root for that guy, I do, but he's going to have his hands full with this Niners team. I think they're better in all three phases of football. They're even better in special teams. Carolina doesn't have much of a chance.
San Francisco has not given up a first half touchdown all season, and they sacked Stafford 7 times. They were all over him, like you said. I love the way their coach schemes up their run game. Mm-hmm. I think it was Jeff Wilson had the long run. Yeah. Well, so did Debo Samuel, but on Wilson's run, there was a trap block from a tight end that lined up as a wingback. And I don't know if you watched that, but he did it like he snuck up on that defensive tackle, basically, caught him by surprise and just eliminating and created a huge hole. And that's my friend Harry Morgan, who was our varsity coach when I was in California. He designed a system of a run system where his fullback, he could be a small guy, but he taught his fullback to run into the line and not look at the target that he's going to block. And then at the last second, look at the target and then hit that big defensive line. Surprise him every time, and it worked every time. That was their block that was like that. So I love the way San Francisco schemes up their run game, and it's a little bit different every year. They're very creative with their run game.
I agree.
Kind of doesn't seem to matter a whole lot who's carrying the ball. The way they block it is outstanding. Jimmy G was more on target last week. It didn't look like he was suffering for not having enough reps like the previous week. Yeah. And so I think he's plugged back in. I think San Francisco gets an easy victory over Carolina. Next game is the Philadelphia Eagles at the Arizona Cardinals, who are coming out in a new alternate helmet. That's this black guy with
look at that.
Red Cardinal.
Well, this is one of those trap games where I'm overconfident. Eagles are the only undefeated team in the league. They've played very well up to this point. Defense has been very good, and the offense is surprisingly balanced. Miles Sanders having a great year. AJ Brown is plugged right in, and Jalen Hurts is not making mistakes. He's pretty well kind of held the ship right. I don't see the Eagles losing to this bizarro Cardinals team that really doesn't play much defense. They need Kyler Murray to basically play superhero ball in order to make any plays of significance. They are just not able to run the ball traditionally with running backs, and there's just not a lot of hope, I think, for this Cardinals team this year. So I got the Eagles.
I got you down for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the best built football team in the NFC. If it was a beauty contest, the Eagles would be the last contestant on the stage answering the stupid questions and talk about world peace. The Eagles are a beautiful football team. They've got a great offensive line, a dual threat at quarterback who's playing very well, 3 great receivers, and Miles Sanders had an outstanding day. He was a great running back.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't even started talking about their defense, which can get a lot of pressure from that front and stop running games and cover the passing game. I don't see anything wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles. I see a few things wrong with the Arizona Cardinals.
Just a couple.
Yeah, they've only had
good.
They only have 4 sacks on defense, and nobody on the team has more than 2 tackles for losses. Yeah. And 2 of those 4 sacks are from J.J. Watt, who he had a heart issue last week in practice, or in the middle of the week, where he went into a severe arrhythmia, and they had to put him out and get him back going. Right. Wow. It was kind of a scary situation. Kyler Murray is playing like Kyler Murray. It's got to be tough to be his coach. It's got to be tough to be his offensive coordinator. I think Kingsbury's calling the plays. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have an official offensive coordinator. But how do you plan for Kyler Murray? I mean, it's just chaos and running around all the time.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles. Next game is the Dallas Cowboys at the Los Angeles Rams, and this is, for me, a hard game to figure. Yeah, heartburn. Heartburn on this one.
Oh man. There's so many factors to this. Do you like is head coaching gonna outweigh
No, we've been hard on McCarthy, but he's kind of been doing okay as a coach. I mean,
well, they've kind of taken him out of a lot of the decision making, it seems like.
That could be.
And that probably does help, because he gets this confused look on his face that is just iconic. I welcome you to search the memes, anybody that runs across this. They're great. I think this is a bad matchup for the Rams with how well the Cowboys get after the passer. It's going to be a tough day for Matt Stafford. I don't think he has enough places to go with the ball. I don't think the running game is going to scare anybody. Akers can flash 2 or 3 times a game, but that's about it. And the Rams defense is not the stout unit that they were last year. They've taken a couple steps back. They may prove me wrong and have a bounce back game. But I think I like the Cowboys in this one.
Well, neither is the Rams offensive line.
They're bad.
Stout line like they were last year. They're really missing Whitworth.
Yeah.
Who retired. And man, I can't see that offensive line holding up against Dallas's pass rush.
Yeah. Dallas pass rush is fantastic.
Yeah. Dio Armstrong's got 3 sacks from KU. Got that in. He's almost up there with Parsons, who's got 4 sacks. This is the Cooper Bowl. Cooper Rush, Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Rush has a lot more help than Cooper Kupp. Yeah. So I'm picking Dallas. We go to the Sunday night game.
Geez, Cooper Kupp got beat up in that Niners game. That was tough to watch.
Yeah, the Niners played a pretty physical game.
They really did.
Yeah. Cincinnati at Baltimore is Sunday night game.
It's going to be a weird game. Both of these teams have coached pretty poorly this season. They've been let down by their coaching staffs, I think. with pretty good play from their star performers. John Harbaugh, as I mentioned earlier, he's blown 2 games this season that they needed, and they had. They could have easily beaten Buffalo. They gave up 23 straight unanswered points, about 20 straight unanswered points. You can't do that. That's just playing way too conservative. You're not moving the ball. You're not even really trying. You're just hoping that the other team forgets how to play football and you make it to the finish line with what you've done so far. Lamar Jackson, MVP talk, fine, but he's got to go out and win that game against the Bills if he wants another one of those. Joe Burrow, his receivers, they're kind of back to doing Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins things. They're very good. The Bengals defensive line has stepped it up of late. They've been getting after the quarterback a little bit more from what I could see. So that's promising for them. The Ravens defense is fantastic when they're not told to play prevent defense for an entire half. They can play with anybody, but they have to keep their foot on the gas. This is a tough pick. Ravens really, really killed me last week, but I'll ride them again this week and let them burn me all over.
They're the sort of team that wins ugly.
Yeah.
But their defense is not like a Ravens defense that we're used to. There's no Ray Lewis is there. There's, it's just Justin Houston is injured. He didn't play last week. I don't think he's going to be back the week coming either. Cincinnati is kind of getting it back together. Last time they played Baltimore in Baltimore, they beat them 41-17.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably going to come into the game with confidence, and they are an ascending team. Burrow's getting better. Jamar Chase kind of had a slow start to the season. He's kind of starting to maybe come on a little bit. T. Higgins is having a very good year, 315 yards, 20 receptions.
He's been steady.
Yeah, and both Lions, like you say, are kind of showing a little bit of improvement. The only thing that's not improving is Joe Mixon, still 2.7 yards per carry. So I don't know what's up with that.
Run the ball, yeah.
Yeah. I don't beat up Harbaugh too much for the game. They could have easily won that game. Again, for the penalty. And even the way he talked about his decision at the end, he could have gone either way. He went the analytics way. But I personally would have wished he would have kicked the field goal.
Yeah, and get the points.
At least get him ahead and put at least a little bit more pressure on Josh Allen. Everybody's excited about J.K. Dobbins, but I watched him and I'm kind of unimpressed. He doesn't hit the hole quick. I didn't watch him a lot in college, but what I saw last week, I just was not impressed with him.
Yeah, he's still finding his speed. You can tell.
Anyway, I am going to pick Cincinnati, so we differ on that one. Then the Monday night game.
Here we go.
Raider week in Kansas City, Las Vegas at Kansas City.
There we go.
I'll write your pick down now. I know what it is.
Yeah. I have an affinity for silver and black. No, I have the Chiefs. Mahomes, we talk about how great we're spoiled. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, all playing together at the same time. I mean, it's a treat to watch football these past few years for sure. But my money's on Mahomes for the most entertaining. My goodness, the plays he makes, that rollout with the spin and the flip over the guy to Edwards-Helaire and the touchdown, that's one of the most special plays I've ever seen on a football field. That was incredible.
They were on a mission, and Mahomes was on a mission, very focused. And a lot of people say it's a revenge game for the Super Bowl and a bounce back game. I'm kind of looking at that Indianapolis game with the Chiefs as maybe that was a trap game. Because some of the stuff they pulled, they might have been taking 2 weeks to practice that.
Mm-hmm.
When they ran that tight end quarterback sneak,
that was great.
Lori and I looked at each other like, "What happened?" We had to see that twice to really see what happened.
Well, Mahomes sold it. Yeah,
that's something you got to practice. You got to find out if Noah Gray can take a snap. Kelsey can because he used to be a quarterback in high school, but I don't think Noah Gray was. But yeah, it was a fun game.
It was, yeah. And the Raiders are great. They're going to push the Chiefs. That offense can play with the Chiefs, and they always give us a tough game.
Well, they didn't last year. They beat us 2 years ago. Last year, it was like we put a 40 burger on them both times, both at home and away. Yeah, I didn't write down the scores. Oh, I did. Yeah, 41-14 and 48-9. And Andy Reid, he pays close attention to division games. He has ever since he came to Kansas City. He is a big proponent of winning those division games. And that's why they won, 6 AFC West division titles in a row? Maybe it was more than that. Do you know how many titles they've won?
I believe it's 7.
You might be right. They take the division wins seriously because it puts a loss on teams that you're trying to get ahead of as well. Vegas played better last week than I thought they would. I thought their Lions would get dominated. They didn't. And they got a 3-headed monster in that receiving game. And that Mac Hollins, he's not. I'm not gonna say he's as good as Devontae Adams, but there's not a big drop off there, and he's having a lot of fun playing. Every time I saw him in close-ups, he's smiling all the time. He's having a blast out there.
Yeah.
But somebody's got to play defense on that front other than Max Crosby.
That's true. They're not getting a lot of production.
There's only one sack by somebody not named Crosby. Josh Jacobs is having a great year. He had 144 yards last week, 336 on the year. But Kansas City's actually been pretty good against the run this year.
Yeah.
They controlled Jonathan Taylor. He didn't break off any big runs against us.
No.
And they shut down Tampa Bay.
Oh, they convinced them to not run at all.
Yeah. Vegas' kicking game is outstanding. Daniel Carlson's 100% with 12 field goals. And their punter is 12 punts, 52-yard average. So their kicking game probably is a little better than ours right now with the injury to Butker. But just like the Indianapolis game was a trap game, you know who we got next week? We got Buffalo.
Yep.
So I'm a little bit worried that this could be a trap game, that they're already putting in Buffalo's game plan.
I would hope not. I mean, as you said, I don't believe that Andy would do that. He puts too much weight on the divisional games. Yeah.
But I could see why they took Vegas lightly after they had such an easy time with them,
last season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that Mahomes will remember 2 years ago when they almost beat him twice.
Yeah. 2 records were set last week. Mahomes was the first to 20,000 yards. He did it in 67 games, beating Stafford in 71 games. And Travis Kelce moved up to 5th, I think, on the tight end list. Gronkowski. Yeah. And, Kelsey's got more time. He's still only 30 years old, something like that.
Yeah, he is. He's got time. That Tony Gonzalez record, though, I don't know.
Yeah, that's out there.
That'll be a tough one to take from him for sure.
I'm keeping my Chiefs 88 jersey.
Yeah, Kelce is 33.
Oh, he's 33.
Yep.
We both got the Chiefs. It could be another blowout. I'm not a Raider hater like people pretend to be. I used to be back when they had Ben Davidson. Rob asked me on his channel who my least favorite football player was. He asked everybody, and I came up with Bill Romanowski. I forgot about Ben Davidson. But when Ben Davidson speared after the whistle Lenny Dawson, everybody in Kansas City from that point forward hated the Raiders. Plus, they were great, and we were great, and it was always very, very competitive. But those Raider games were always the most memorable. And Ben Davidson was this big handlebar mustache. He was a good player, but I hated him. But I've kind of, we've stayed a long period where I think we won 14 games in a row. Tottenham were dominating Oakland. So the hate level kind of went down, and I actually like their uniforms. I think the uniforms are cool, especially when they wear the silver numbers in their uniform.
That's slick.
Yeah, I think that's very slick. Well, Dan, hope this is another good show. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah. Always a blast. Hey, you 5-0.
Oh boy.
Isn't that wild?
Last week is probably going to be the worst week we ever had. Most of everybody's picks were not real bad. Apollory won 10 games. Oh, Justin won 10 games. But I still think Justin has an unfair advantage because he's not picking until Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, yeah. If he's picking on Thursday, he's got 2 extra days of injuries resolved. And
at practices and not at practices.
A lot more information to digest.
Yeah. Now, you had the better, one last thing before we go, you had the better week than I had. So in our differences, we need to figure out which one we're going to send to Rob. Indianapolis and Denver, are you pretty strong on that Denver pick? Or do you want to go with me on that one?
That one I think I'd stick with Denver on, but there's another one that there's a couple that I'm going to go with you on because I didn't like my choice as much.
New England, Detroit?
With the backup QB, I do like Detroit.
I really like that backup QB.
You like him a lot?
Oh, yeah.
We can go with him. Let's ride it. Let's go Pats on that one.
Detroit's not going to stop anybody.
No. But they can't make big plays. I mean, the Pats, how are they going to generate points?
They will probably own the time of possession.
That's true.
So Detroit, Detroit will have some big plays, but they might not have the ball as much as they usually do.
That's a good point.
Doesn't give it up.
Yeah.
You still want to stay with Detroit? I'll put down Detroit if you want to stay with them.
Go with the Pats on that one. You talked me into it.
New England. New Orleans, Seattle.
That's one that they could play that game 100 times, and I don't know who would have the advantage.
Probably come up 50-50.
Right. How is Thomas a little bit?
Yeah. Look up Thomas.
Is more healthy, right? Yeah.
He's more healthy, but I'm not sure he's back yet.
Back, sure.
I think he is practicing.
And if Dalton plays, give me New Orleans in that one.
Okay. And then the only other difference we had was Cincinnati-Baltimore game.
Oh, I got to tell you, I just got a notification. Aaron Judge just broke Roger Maris's home run record.
Oh, good. Fantastic.
Yes, he's got 62.
He was down to his last 2 games, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yep. Yeah. He led off first at bat at the game. He got it. So cool moment in baseball history.
In my mind, he is the home run champion. People and baseball should, if they put an asterisk on Roger Maris, they should eliminate McGuire, Bonds, and Sosa from the record book. They were cheating,
and we know it.
And the whole world knows it, including They cannot keep. They think the not letting them in the Hall of Fame is the big punishment. Take them
Well,
out
it's
of
not
the
even
working
keep
books. They have
them.
no place in the working books. And it should be Aaron Judge.
Yes, I agree. Good point. So I think the Ravens will take this one. I might be very wrong, so I apologize in advance. But
I got you down, Baltimore.
all right,
All right, I'll get these over to Rob, and I'll probably join his broadcast in about 15 or 20 minutes after I get all that prepared.
all right. Hey, good luck this week. It's gonna be your week this week, buddy. I know it. You tell hey Unabomber, you tell Appa Brian.
Apple Brian
Well,
will lean on the hamster, and for sure the hamster will have a better week than Apple Brian could ever think about having.
I was thinking about it. You could put like those little pogs, and whichever one flies out of the hamster wheel first, that could be the team you pick. What do you
Okay.
think?
That's a good one.
There you go.
All right, we'll wrap up the broadcast with that. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and God bless.
See ya.